Hi friends, it's the beginning of the month and Spellbinders is taking us to the tropics. This card features the small die of the month Tropical Friends on a background completed with the 3D embossing folder of the month Scattered Tropics. To give the illusion that these tropical birds are nestled in this luscious vegetation, I'm first going to take my A2 size panel and die cut it with one of the dies from the Essential Ovals die set. To keep the pattern continuous, I'll piece the two back together before I pop them in the embossing folder. To make those leaves pop, I'm going to use Distress Oxide Forest Moss and rub it on the flat side of the embossing folder. Wow, right? They really stand out. To add some more depth to this three-dimensional panel, Distress Oxide Shabby Shutters, which is a soft mossy green, is rubbed over the raised areas. This light tone of green adds a pretty highlight to the embossed images. I make several passes of light sweeps across the panel until I get the tone that I want. Although this is a subtle addition, when those two background pieces are side by side, you can really see the difference when the ink has not been applied. This is such a beautiful design. So now we're on to the small die of the month, this sweet set Tropical Friends. I'm going to start by assembling this parrot. It is so cute. First thing that I do is lay out all of my die cut pieces. No adhesive until I know that I've got everything the way it should be. I like to use a jewel picker when I have to deal with small die cuts. In my books, it makes my life a whole lot easier. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to flip over that little face detail and add in some Scotch tape to hold the eye and the cheek in place. The beak will be adhered first because that face detail is going to overlap it slightly. As soon as that die cut is in place, you can really see that parrot coming to life. There are three sizes of wing die cuts, which I've die cut from dark pink cardstock. I'll be using the middle one and adhering it to the back of the parrot, making sure that it lines up with those little die cut holes so that there's some pink detail on the bird's chest. Then the smallest wing is lined up to the top of the larger one and it's adhered on top of the parrot on the other side. I'll add some liquid adhesive to the top of the tail feathers and then set the parrot on top of it. So this is one of the reasons I like to use liquid adhesive. I have time to make adjustments. I'll add just a small dot of glue to the bottom of the parrot's legs and his claws can be attached. Again, I just have to say thank goodness for the jewel picker. This cutie is wrapped up with the eye detail. It is just amazing to me how much character this little die cut gives that bird. So on to the second tropical bird. This can be a toucan or not. I'm not going to be using the solid beak. Of course, I have to use those cute stripes. His beak will be made up of three colors: bright orange, lime green, and a soft yellow. But before I put on that last stripe, I just want to see how the face detail is going to be positioned on the bird. And then I'll go ahead and finish up with the orange stripe. And the face detail can be adhered, positioning it so that it is right up against that last stripe and also lining up to the throat of the base die cut of the bird. I don't have to worry about a die cut for the eye because of course the bird is black. I do have to complete the cheek and I chose orange. I always think this is the fun part. On goes the eye detail. Solid beak already has a mouth detail, but of course we need something for the striped beak. This thin die cut is positioned so that it starts at the tip of the bird's beak and then will sit just above the bottom of the beak. And this fun toucan is finished up by attaching the wing and then adding a little dot of glue on the legs and putting those tiny little claws in place. Oh my gosh, these birds are just adorable. Now we'll continue on to create a luscious setting for these birds to sit in. The area where the birds are going to sit will be recessed, so the first thing that I'm going to do is use the next largest oval die and cut black sheet foam that has been slightly oversized. The main panel will be adhered to the foam. I'll center the oval die cut over that of the black foam one. It is set aside to dry, and then the excess foam around the edges is trimmed off. When I do my trimming, I like to use my large shears, pushing the blade right up against the edge of the panel, angling it slightly towards the inside of the panel for an undercut. It is then adhered to an A2 size black top folding card base. Next, I'll attach that oval die cut. It'll be recessed in the main panel. I make sure that I have it positioned correctly so that the pattern will be continuous. 2 branches were die cut from green cardstock, and the birds are going to be attached to these branches. I add just small dots of glue to the back of the claws and then lay the bird down on the branch. The 2 birds with the branch in tow will be adhered to the recessed panel with foam squares. This really helps these birds stand out from the background while also giving a lot of depth to the overall scene. These tropical birds look so cute with their bright colors sitting on that green background. I've got them lined up the way I want them. Now I'll remove the backing paper from the foam squares, and with the branch overlapping the raised part of the panel, the birds are put in place. This die set comes with a variety of foliage and flowers. I've chosen a couple of shades of green cardstock, and the foliage was cut several times, and I'm going to use it to create a frame around that recessed oval. The wreath of greenery will be highlighted with some pretty flowers. I've chosen colors that are used to highlight the birds, pink and orange. Once I have everything laid out, I'm going to use a piece of press and seal to pick everything up. I'm going to be able to grab everything except for a couple of pieces that are tucked behind the parrot. I'll just pull those 2 leaves off, and they'll be placed individually after the ring of leaves has been adhered to the card front. Before I adhere the wreath, I'm first going to add some texture to the center of the little embossed flowers. I've added a small dot of glue, then I'll coat it with green prills. And as you can see, I'm working over a coffee filter. These are small and they can get everywhere, so you need to contain them. While the adhesive is drying, I can continue working on the wreath. I just start at one end, and any of the leaves and flowers that are overlapping another one, I just lift them up and put in a little dot of glue. And glue is dotted on the back of the entire wreath. The press and seal is flipped over, the wreath is lined up to the recessed opening, and then everything is pressed into place. The adhesive is still wet, so it does need to be peeled off carefully. I didn't want to wait until it dried completely so that I could make any minor adjustments. And there we go, just like that, it's in place. Now I can add in those pieces that will be overlapped by the parrot. The glue is dotted on, and then each leaf is slipped into place. Although there is a die to create the centers for the flowers, I prefer to continue with the texture. A good-sized dollop of glue is placed in the center, and then again over my coffee filter, I sprinkle on the green prills. And yes, the prills do get into the recessed area. I wait for the adhesive to dry completely. I place it upside down over top of my garbage can, and between shaking it and tapping it, all those loose bits come off. And of course, there has to be a little bit of shine, and so I add in a number, quite a number actually, of peach-colored confetti. A simple but bold sentiment from fresh picked sentiments has been die cut from both white sheet foam and bright pink cardstock, the same pink that was used on the flowers and the wings of the parrot. And that is finished off by dotting that eye. Ramp up the shine factor and really make that confetti stand out. They'll be finished off with Nouveau Crystal Drops Morning Dew. I also add a little droplet on each of the bird's eyes. As the Nouveau drops dry, they will become clear. That wraps up this fun tropical card with its pops of colors using Spellbinder's Small Die of the Month Tropical Friends, and all on a beautiful lush background created with the 3D embossing folder of the month, Scattered Tropics. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I appreciate your visit.